I am voting for Donald Trump in 2020. There are 3 reasons I'm going to vote for Donald Trump in 2020 when I didn't 4 years ago. First, I was simply wrong about Donald Trump on policy. Second, I wasn't really wrong about Donald Trump on character, but whatever damage he was going to do has already been done, and it's not going to help if I don't vote for him this time. And third, most importantly, the Democrats have lost their minds. So, first of all,
Very risque, man. Very risque. Wow. Geez. Sorry, guys. I know we have a family value stream here, but so my biggest reason for voting for Donald Trump was border policy, specifically back in 2016. I didn't like the tweeting. I think that when even nowadays Trump's like over the top Hulk Hogan wrestling promo kind of style. Some people love it, some people hate it. I don't like it at all. It doesn't do anything for me. When people send me videos that are like Trump just being way over the top or being like, way aggressive and stuff like that, it doesn't do anything to me. Like, I don't like it. I'm not one of the guys who's like, hell yeah, Trump, kick his ass. You know what I mean? Like, it misses me. I don't like the tweeting. I don't like a lot of the hyperbole or hyperbole, as some people would say. I don't like a lot of that. I don't really dig a lot of that. So I totally get that second part. And the third part, we did a video about this a while ago where I believe this election is more than Trump versus Biden. This is probably the most important election where voters, one way or the other, I don't care which way you vote, one way or the other, you seek out the policy and you seek out which policy you want to, or which combination of policies you want this country to have for the next 4 years. I think this is the election where that's the most important. If you're voting for Biden because you hate Trump or because Kamala Harris is cool or whatever, or if you're voting for Trump because he's funny on Twitter, like, you're missing the boat completely. I'm sure Ben will talk about that.
Donald Trump has governed pretty conservatively. I thought he would not be conservative in his governance. I was just wrong on that. Donald Trump radically cut regulation. You actually saw reductions in the number of man-hours dedicated to dealing with regulation for the first time in a long time under Donald Trump. He appointed originalist judges to the best of his ability. We're talking dozens of them, textualist, originalist judges who actually care about the role of the judiciary. He cut taxes, jogging the economy, raising it to heights not seen in half a century, the lowest unemployment rate in half a century, people having their wages rise at the bottom of the spectrum. He appointed pro-life people to the executive branch and pursued pro-life policy via executive order. He dumped out of the idiotic Paris Accords, which were useless and counterproductive. He dumped the even more idiotic and evil Iran deal, which gave money to the Iranian mullahs to use for terrorism, as John Kerry freely admitted.
That's one of those things where it's like, when you're looking at what Trump's actually done, you're going to hear a lot of, when you talk to people who are anti-Trump or whatever, and they may say stuff like, I'm voting against him because he's a racist. It's like, okay, well, that is very, it's your opinion, right? That's, let's just say, for lack of a better term, there's very little evidence to support that. Those things that he's saying, that's more what I'm talking about with the policy, where those are real things you can look at. Like with Trump, it's not a guessing game of what he'll make the next 4 years look like. We have 4 years of evidence to see what that will look like. And I referenced this on the last week, but 56% of Americans in a survey said that their life is better. So it's crazy that we're even in this position to where people are acting like this is some weird tyrannical government.
Donald Trump crushed ISIS. He killed al-Baghdadi. He killed Qasem Soleimani. Donald Trump is the first president of my lifetime not to start any new wars, which is a kind of big thing. He moved the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. He brokered the first meaningful peace deals there in 3 decades in the Middle East. He cracked down on China in unprecedented ways. He's resisted using the federal government to control everybody's life during COVID. That's a big thing. This is the biggest government power grab of my lifetime, and Trump refused to do it. Donald Trump restored due process on college campuses because he actually cares about due process, or at least his Secretary of Education does. Contrary to popular opinion, Donald Trump has not actually threatened the institutions. The fact is that Donald Trump may have been hemmed in by his own people. Whatever the rationale, he has not threatened the press. He has not threatened the legislature. He has not used the executive branch in nearly as powerful ways as Barack Obama did. Now, Trump hasn't been as conservative as I would like on everything. He's spent way too much money, like oodles too much money. I actually care about that stuff. His perspective on trade is a zero-sum game. I think is wrong-headed. He still signed into law the USMCA, which is a pretty good trade deal. But these are problems I've had with a variety of Republicans, including George W. Bush. Trump has governed overall in a far more conservative fashion than W on policy.
It is amazing when you hear about Trump and how volatile he is and how he is a bully or whatever. But the fact that he has not started any wars, the fact that it's been pretty peaceful, and the fact that when you think about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, the Middle East was the biggest talking point across the board. And now they are a complete non-issue. Like, you never hear about the Middle East. When is the last time you heard about the Middle East? I talk about it all the time, but the biggest thing for me last election was radical Islam and border policy. And like that, those aren't even topics. Those aren't even mentioned. What's going on in the Middle East, ISIS or anything like that. Like, and it's only been 4 years. For something that has been such a mainstay, the idea of ISIS, the idea of radical Islam, the idea of the Middle East, for what has been my entire life, certainly my entire voting life, has been involving that. For that to just go away is pretty wild.
He is the most conservative president of my lifetime on policy. Of course, Ronald Reagan left office when I was 4 years old. Second, times change. When I said I wouldn't vote for Trump in 2016, I was worried about 3 things. 1, policy. Again, I was wrong. Second, I was worried about the soul-sucking of the Republican Party to approve bad behavior, the people nodding and grinning at bad stuff Trump did. A lot of that has happened. And third, I was worried about toxicity down ballot, right? Losing House seats, losing Senate seats, blowing out the Republican Party with minorities and women and young people. A lot of that has manifested. But here's the thing. It's already manifested. And me not voting for Trump in 2020 doesn't stop that from manifesting. Like, I've been very, very clear on my feelings about Donald Trump's character. I have serious reservations, to say the least. Trump has some good qualities, right? He's a hammer in search of a nail. Sometimes he hits a nail. It's super satisfying. And sometimes he hits a baby, and it is far less satisfying. Trump hitting the media, it's often justified. I mean, the media have exposed themselves as just a pure dumpster fire of leftist garbage.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've talked about a lot, but the media they have completely removed the mask or whatever. Like, they have been more anti-Trump than anybody. They are the media, the Hollywood, TV actors, all that stuff. It's amazing how much they have been anti-Trump. He is a president of the United States, and the fact that they have been unapologetic in their attempted takedown. When you think about you think about Russia, you think about the dossier, you think about everything we've seen in 4 years. It just non-stop. It's pretty crazy, but I do agree that there's no more time for that. There's no more time for, oh, well, Trump's kind of crazy on Twitter. So, yeah, well, he's been crazy on Twitter for 4 years,
They've treated him as an enemy from the very first day. They've promulgated false narratives. They've lied about things that he has said. They have taken the worst interpretation of everything he could possibly have said. That doesn't mean that Trump hasn't been vindictive or petty or immoral.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm supporting Trump or defending Trump. I don't like Trump. I think I've made that very clear on this platform. But I do think it's pretty obvious that they are out to get him. It is biased. They are unapologetically biased, as in NBC being threatened to move his time slot of his town hall for Biden. Like, even Chris Wallace during the debate. Like, they're not even hiding anything. So yes, he can be a bit much. Yes, he can be too out there on Twitter or whatever platform he's using or whatever town halls and all that stuff. But it's one of those deals where it's like, it's bad, but I don't think it's deserving of the response.
Well, he does all those things. Trump being unable to focus and willing to jump on any rake is not just immoral, it is very often stupid and counterproductive. I mean, you know my opinion on this. Everybody knows, okay, deep down in the cockles of your heart, no matter how much you love Trump, everybody knows the Trump administration with
Ben Shapiro should remove cockles from his vocabulary. It's just a little tip from me, brother. I'd probably just slice that one, throw that one away, find a different word.
With Trump on teleprompter more often and less on Twitter, would be in a position to win the 2020 election more easily.
Benjamin!
Everybody also knows that Trump's tweets damage him with people who don't already love him. All of that is true.
I have said that for a long time. I think it's really interesting how Trump's bigger than life persona now isn't doing him any favors. He already has legions of cult like fans who eat that shit up. He doesn't need to do that anymore. If he was just chill AF, hung out, was a real nice guy, swell fellow, those cult fanatics are not going anywhere. Trust me. There's way too many Trump flags flying. They didn't keep the receipts. I don't know why he's still doing it, unless he just loves to hear the applause. But it's like, you think someone would tell him, like, hey, man, look, you already got them. You don't need to keep placating to them. Let's try and win some other people. Let's try and get to another group, you know?
Right? But all of it is not changing. There's a group of people out there who every time Trump tweets something newly stupid, they get newly enraged. I think most Americans, basically, this is all baked into the cake at this point. I think it's important, deeply important, for conservatives to criticize Trump when he requires it. When Trump does something bad, we should say it out loud. We shouldn't hide that. And that's why I've been calling balls and strikes on Trump as a president since the day he was elected. But 2020 is not 2016. Everything that is bad about Trump is already part of the system. It's already part of the new normal, for better or for worse. And me avoiding voting for him in 2020 doesn't change that. Third, and most importantly, the Democrats have lost their minds.
Benjamin!
They've lost their minds. So have members of the mainstream media. So have members of our bureaucracy. So have members of academia. These people must not be allowed the mechanisms of power. Our most crucial institutions, from corporate America to the universities.
Let me go to chat here. I believe he maintains his relevancy by getting the haters angry, and by consequence, his supporters yell loudly. I understand that, but I don't think Donald Trump has to maintain his relevancy. Like, he's the president of the United States. He's the leader of the free world. He is Donald Trump. You know, like, the last thing he needs to worry about is being irrelevant. His base of, you know, the cult Trump guys, they don't need much. They love Trump regardless. They would vote for Trump over any other human being on the planet. You know, like, they don't need much to yell loudly. They're already yelling loudly, revving up their trucks and parking lots and stuff. You know, so I think what it does is, and someone, you know, I've heard this from a lot of people who I would consider pretty center Republicans and whatnot. They keep getting put off every time they see the cult hood or Trump's, you know, crazy stuff on Twitter or his dancing or speeches or whatever. They keep seeing that and they're like, shit, man, I can't vote for this guy. You know, like, how much more can I take? I think if he just relaxed for the next 3 weeks, those people would gravitate more towards voting for his policies. And his cult people, they're already voting. You know, like, to me, they're irrelevant as far as, like, who he's marketing towards.
They've been corrupted, top to bottom. And giving them power over your lives, more power over your lives, huge mistake. The Democrats are no longer the party even of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. They're the party of Bernie Sanders, and they're just wearing around the mask of Joe Biden. They're the party of Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Joe Biden is a Potemkin village of a candidate. He is not a bulwark against radicalism.
Yeah, so in personal opinion, I think the Democratic Party, or whatever you want to call it now, has taken Trump's playbook and said, okay, screw it. If that's how it's going to be, if that's what America wants, we're going to not worry about policy. We're not going to worry about that. We're not going to have some tried and true politician. We're going to start bringing in these, like, charismatic, young, radical, loud, Twitter heavy, Twitch heavy, YouTube, whatever. And we're going to try and win like that. That's what, to me, the AOCs and the Ilhans and all that, that's what they are. You know, that's what that group is. They're just bringing in the same people, even like the Mayor Pete's and the Beto's. Like, that's what that is. They're playing the Trump game with all of them. That's why it's moved so quickly away from the Hillary Clintons to the AOCs.
He has a facade for it. Everybody knows it. That's why Bernie is touting him as the most progressive presidential candidate since FDR. There's a reason that Noam Chomsky is on board with Joe Biden. Right? I mean, if you just watch this stuff, it should scare the hell out of you. Today's Democratic Party is not even the Democratic Party of Barack Obama circa 2008. Barack Obama circa 2008 supported traditional marriage. Barack Obama circa 2008 was not openly in favor of packing the courts or getting rid of the filibuster. Barack Obama in 2008 used to speak about personal responsibility sometimes. Like, all of this is just gone. The Democratic Party is now the party of radicalism.
Yeah, I mean, you ask if you ask a lot of people now, like on the left, on the radical left or whatever, like what they want, you're going to hear like no guns, no prisons, no police, social health care, free abortions. And all of a sudden it's like, well, wait, that's not even the same country. Like, what are we talking about? That's not even close. Like that is we're talking about 4 years. We went from oh well, we believe in this to believe we went from like uh and we went from one thing to now it's like there are no genders. It's like whoa, whoa, that is way beyond the pale. Like that's where we are now. When you look at what a lot of people are talking about, it's not even in the same stratosphere of some of the topics that like Ben's talking about here, like what we heard from Obama or even Hillary or whoever. We're closer to a new country versus just kind of like, yeah, we lean this way on some policy. We leaned all the way to where we just don't have genders or police or anything like that. So yeah, it is full bore on that side, and I think they're doing that to try and get as polarizing as they feel like Trump has been, and because they feel like that's how Trump won. He got such an radical base or a rampant base, I guess, like a overzealous base. So they're trying to build that with these insane radical ideas.
The simple mandate for the Democrats is this. They now believe in cramming down their perspective on everyone they can via any force that they can control. They believe that you should be forced by law to violate your religious beliefs if it conflicts with their social views. They believe that the science says we have to destroy the free market in the name of the environment. They say that unborn babies aren't babies, that men can be women. And if you disagree with any of that, you're a bigot, and you're a homophobe, and you're a terrible person. They believe that your right to keep and bear arms should be heavily infringed, if not outright abolished. They believe that due process comes second to intersectional identity, that we shouldn't judge you as an individual, we should judge you based on your racial group. They believe that America is systemically racist, rooted in sin and evil, founded in 1619, not in 1776. They believe that every single disparity in America can be chalked up to racism and bigotry and America sucking. They believe in racial, sexual orientation quotas, overt discrimination. They believe in a hierarchy of victimhood. If you're low on that hierarchy of victimhood, you should shut up. If you're high on the hierarchy of victimhood, you can say whatever the hell you want. You will never be held accountable. They believe that economic freedom should be curbed in the name of income equality. They care far less about growth and prosperity than they do about some bizarre notion that equality is its own good. They're complicit in a culture war on anybody who disagrees. They seek to ruin anybody who stands in their way, and they will activate the media, they'll activate social media, they'll activate their friends in academia to get all of that done. Meanwhile, they'll make room for Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They will cheer the rioting and the looting, or at least they'll go along with it and refuse to condemn it. But if you go to church during a pandemic, you are a danger to society. If you go to grandma's funeral, you're super dangerous. But if you are out there rioting and looting and burning things, that's just a philosophy, guys. It's not a movement. It's not an organization, as Joe Biden said. They literally will not even condemn Antifa. Okay? Antifa is a terrorist organization. They will not condemn it. They will not condemn Black Lives Matter protests that escalate into rioting and looting. They think that there's no relationship whatsoever between an ideology that suggests that America is at root evil and that every institution in American life is infected with that evil and the rioting and the looting. On foreign policy, the Democrats want to kowtow to Iran. They want to re-enter the garbage Paris Accords. They want to make nice with China. They've threatened to destroy the Electoral College, pack the Supreme Court, abolish the filibuster, add states by simple majority to vote Democrat. They say they'll use impeachment as a purely political tool. In fact, they've even said they want a congressional committee to use the 25th Amendment to get rid of a sitting president. They seek to centralize all power in the executive branch, and they hope to overrun the powers of the states. They're aided in all of this by corporations, the mainstream media, and pretty much anybody else they can get their hands on. They've created a social structure dedicated to ostracizing anybody who dissents on leftist dogma. If you vote for Trump, you are evil. Your friends should stop talking to you. You should stop talking to your own parents. Maybe you should be fired. Certainly, people should stop treating you like a human being. So, here's the deal. I'm voting for Trump. You don't have to love Trump's character. You don't have to like his Twitter account to vote for him. You don't have to approve of the crazy or bad things that he says or the way he often acts. But if you care about the Constitution and economic freedom and the security of the United States, you really don't have a whole hell of a lot of choice. You should vote for Trump. You should certainly vote against Joe Biden and a Democratic Party that is running completely off the rails and now threatens the integrity of the Republic if they are given the levers of power.
A lot of what he's saying against the radical left and these uber progressive ideas is a lot of stuff that we've echoed here, so I won't go too in depth in that. I'm not going to go as far as to tell you who to vote for, anything like that. But I will say, certainly, like I said in this video, certainly take a look at what the policy is, what these people want to do on both sides for the next 4 years. A lot of these super radical things, I don't think we should be diving headfirst in without some kind of pushback. I do think that a lot of the ideas that he's talking about here, I'm not so sure all of them are as, I mean, they're real, you know what I mean? But you do have to kind of backtrack and say, okay, how much of this is social media? How much of this is the echo chamber? Some of these like really insanely radical things. And so you got to take that into perspective as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what he said. And, you know, I've said on here that I plan on voting for Trump because of a lot of the same things, as far as I think that the powers that be on this left right now are uber radical, and I'm not ready for, you know, the country to be there just yet or ever. So that's where I'm at.